Hello there, my name is Victor Oguyinka, and you're welcome to the midweek edition of Today in the News, and of course, all of those newspapers across the Federation, and looking at the major headlines everywhere.
Over 1,000 people are benefiting from free medical services provided by the FCT chapter.
Some of the Arsenal fans will be very interested in this news. Arsenal smash club transfer record signed Pep.
Viewers, you're welcome to Vanguard Live, and this is your morning program. Today in the news, here we read and analyze the front pages of the dailies in Nigeria, and I think straightforward we'll be going with the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. And on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, Amotekun, confusion as Malami differs with Osinbajo, Southwest governors, and the rider, outfits must align with community policing strategy. This is coming from Osinbajo. Amotekun, illegal. Malami insists it stays, says Akeredolu. Southwest governors must never back down. This is coming from Afenifere, Akintoye, and Agbikoya. Enact laws to back Amotekun. Falana is saying this. More of this can be found on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. And moving on to other stories, Nigeria drops in Global Corruption Index. This can be found on page 12. Port congestion. NPA declares emergency on Lagos ports. Details can be found on page 9. And on page 4, Lai Mohammed woos investors to creative industry. Page 11, don't dabble on Oyo's local government matter. Oyo government wants Malami. And that is all on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. And from the Vanguard newspaper, we move over to The Nation.
And on The Nation, we have major headlines. Operation Amotekun, federal government, governors strike deal. And you can find that story on page 6. And also, government rejects TI's, that's Transparency International Anti-Graft ranking. That story can be found on page 41. And killings can seek sack of security chiefs. That story can also be found on page 41. And from The Nation, we move on to The Punch.
And on the first page of The Punch, Operation Amotekun, governors meet Osinbajo to back exercise with law. And the rider, Malami, said he was misquoted on Amotekun status. This is coming from Akeredolu. Constitution does not recognize regional security outfit, says AGF. And that's, you can see details on page 2. And lastly, on the front page of The Punch, states panic as LASSA fever death row. Death tolls hits 24. That's all on the front page. From there, we go straight to the Daily Trust.
And on the Daily Trust, we have major headline: federal government, Southwest governors strike deal on Amotekun. And on page 40, we have man docked for allegedly raping landlady's granddaughter. And Supreme Court, why we accepted materials brought by Uzodinma. And that story can be found on page 8. And also, Shetima, it's not possible for ex-governors to control successors. That story can be found on page 33, and that's all we have on Daily Trust.
And that's all we have for the paper review this morning. After the break, we'll go into the analysis segment with our guests. And don't forget to like and follow us on our social media platforms showing on the screen, and visit our website www.vanguardngr.com to get more of our top stories. You can also join the conversation by putting your opinion and your question in the comment section below. We'll be back.
Welcome back, and it's still today in the news, and we'll be discussing further on some of the stories on our front page of the newspaper. And of course, we have our guest in the studio, and we have our guest in the studio, and our guest is Adewale Adeoye. He's a journalist for democratic rights. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we're going straight to Amotekun, and yesterday the federal government and governors of the southwest state on Thursday reached a middle ground on the controversial security outfit Operation Amotekun, and as both settled for a legal framework. This implies that the state will put in place all the necessary legal backing for the outfit to continue. I want to ask you, sir, do you think that the Operation Amotekun should have been, the right legal backing should have been done before now?
Well, I think there are two things. It's either you have the law first, and then you should produce the structure of Amotekun, or you have the Amotekun first, and then the law follows. The Nigerian Civil Defense Corps was established in 1967, and there was no well-defined framework until some few years ago. And in fact, we are not carrying arms, until some few years ago. So the fact of the matter is that we also have the Vigilante Group of Nigeria that started around 2009, and it was not formalized until it was registered with the Corporate Affairs Commission. So I think there are two ways. You can what the governors did was to launch Amotekun. It's not automatic that they should have had that law before setting up Amotekun. But now that they have reached an agreement with the Attorney General of the Federation, it's never too late to go ahead and then put the legal framework in place. I happen to be the technical committee of the implementation team of Amotekun. And after the meeting in June, when we had the strategic meeting in Ibadan, we considered the legal implication, but we said that even when you want to define the legal framework, there must be structure, there must be mission, there must be the SWOT analysis, the strengths, the weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So when you put all this in place, then the legal framework was just part of the whole gamut of how to make Amotekun to work. And so what the governors did was a launching. That does not mean that they did not have the initial conceive the legal framework.
But what are some of the legal framework that they have to consider and that will align with the community policy?
Well, the first thing is to look at the kind of people that will be recruited, then doing background check on all of them, then the mandate of those that will be recruited. For instance, they can be involved in intelligence gathering, they can be involved in arresting criminals. Individuals under the Nigerian Constitution have the right to arrest criminals as individuals. Then they have to also define the jurisprudence, the kind of the geography, from what area to which area, and then the moral code, the operational system, So I think those are the things that has to be defined, in terms of creating the legal framework. And then the training will involve health, personal hygiene. It will involve intelligence gathering. It will involve unarmed combat. For instance, if you find yourself in the street, how do you respond to a criminal that wants to attack you? You don't necessarily need to be armed. Unarmed combat, taekwondo.
We are talking about security and all the security and all those things.
Yeah.
And when it comes to security, people protesting, they believe that they're supposed to be armed. And I think this is one of the things that is causing one of these bad things. That are they going to be armed?
It's quite a misconception, about what security is all about. If you look at when people are talking about effective security system, take Israel for instance. Israel has Mossad. You could go to, if you go to Tel Aviv airport, you won't know which one is a Mossad person. They are not carrying arms. They are sitting down there with a lot of gadgets that are doing a lot of monitoring. So you don't necessarily need to carry arms before you can be a security official. In fact, in the past, NSO, Nigerian Security Organization, they were not carrying arms. They were all on the streets, and what they just do is to, collect information using modern technology. So security is not just about taking up arms and going up and down like we do here. If you see the president of America or the Prime Minister of Canada, you see the security men, they don't carry assault rifles. Yet those presidents are far more protected than our own president here. So security is not just about carrying arms. It involves a lot of issues, and the arms carrying is just an aspect of security.
Okay, there are reports that some of the people who are in charge of this security outfit are forming this Operation Amotekun because they have their own personal agendas. How true is this?
Well, first of all, people have made that allegation that they will use Amotekun to rig election. First of all, we must understand that rigging election 15 years ago is not the same as rigging election in 2019, 2020, when you have card readers. Gone are those days that people come and snatch ballot papers. It's not a common phenomenon these days. So how do they want to use Amotekun to rig election? And we are talking about just 250 people in each of the states.
Okay, not also rigging election. Said okay, we want to use it to form the Oduduwa Republic. Also.
Well, I think that was the statement made by Balarabe Musa.
Yes.
But he's quite a very unfortunate person that a statesman like that, will make such a. I have a lot of respect for him. I was in his house some 2 years ago, and we had a lot of discussion about security situation in Kaduna State. So I was so shocked. But you see, we should ask them, why is it that they expect ordinary 250 people? This personnel per state is 250. How can 250 people be used to strike Oduduwa Republic? In Lagos, we have about 35,000 policemen. So how can just 250 men, 300 men in Lagos, now be used to advance Oduduwa Republic? The whole population of Amotekun is just about 1,250 people, personnel, in the entire Southwest. And that's not even up to the number of policemen in the Ikeja division alone. So I think it's a misconception. And I think it's a kind of blackmail to blackmail the Southwest people into. We could accusing people that they want to use Boko Haram to have Arewa Republic, which Boko Haram has actually declared they want a Sharia nation. But people have not come to accuse them, because we know that they don't represent the interest of people in the Northeast. So I think it's a very unfortunate statement. And from what has happened between the presidency and the Southwest governors, shows clearly that Balarabe Musa over-dramatized the issue. He is trying to talk from his own parochial instinct, and I think it's quite unfortunate.
Okay, speaking still on this Operation Amotekun, there are reports before that there are some certain amounts of money that will be paid to these operatives, that's the people in charge of Amotekun. What can you say about that? Because we were hearing 13,500, we were hearing 50,000, like that. What exactly do you think that the governors are really making just to ensure that these people are well?
There have been all sorts of false narratives about Amotekun. But the initiator of Amotekun, the development agenda for Western Nigeria, what they have in mind is that the payment to each member will not be less than the minimum wage, which is 30,000 naira. Will not be less, it could be more. Don't also forget that members of Amotekun, in terms of conception, may not necessarily be the people you see all the time. A vulcanizer can be a member of Amotekun. A bricklayer.
Okay, so they are going to have their own primary work, not just focus on.
Yes, some of them. For instance, a vulcanizer can be a member of Amotekun. All he just needs to do is to give information. So such people will depend on stipends. In UK, you see people who are over 70 years old, 80 years old. They are members of the security network. They stay at home, they don't go anywhere, but from their window, they get information and they pass it on to the security system. So people that are going to be involved in Amotekun may not necessarily be monthly salary earners, And like we're talking about misconception, Amotekun was not created in direct response to harassment. It actually started in 2011 when Don came out with a strategic roadmap for security in the Southwest. And it was born out of what was going on in the Maghreb region, the crisis in Libya, crisis in Mali, and leaders in Southwest started thinking, that look, this thing that is happening in Libya, because in Libya, I was there, I visited Libya several times, there are a lot of Nigerians in the Libyan army. So after the collapse of Libya under Gaddafi, there was a kind of, an ungovernable state. People started looting up arms and all that. And the Southwest leaders felt, look, this thing might spill over to Nigeria. And because the Southwest represents about 65% of the industrial hub in Southwest, in West Africa, most people that are displaced would like to come to the Southwest. So they started thinking that, look, let's have a regional security network. That was the idea that was created by Dawn. So it started even before the issue of us men that it's just about 3 years old.
Sorry to cut you, but you said Amoteku that some of the people that will be there, they can just be in their room and they can be from organizers doing it. But these people now, are their names going to be announced to the public that okay, this person is part of the Amoteku?
No, people that are going to be part of Amoteku, they don't necessarily need to announce their names to the public. Some of them will be seen on the street, some of them will not be seen. So it's going to be both covert and then overt.
Okay, we'll continue with the Amoteku story after the break. And if you're just with us, we'll be talking on Amoteku. I will come back after the break. And don't forget to leave your opinion and join the conversation by putting it in the comment section below. I will come back. Don't forget to also like and follow us on our social media platforms showing on the screen. And visit our website, vanguardngr.com, to get more of our top stories. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll be back. Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Today in the News. Here we read and analyze the top stories on newspapers across Nigeria.
And of course, we still have our host here, our guest here, Adewale Adeoye, journalist for democratic rights. You're welcome, sir. And we're still talking on the Amoteku issue. And you've said a lot of things about what the government are trying to do and what they are trying to put in place as well. But yet, some people are still not clear on what Amoteku stands for. Can you really reiterate what it means?
Okay, we try to let our people know that development agenda for Western Nigeria as far back as 2011 look at the threats to the people of the Southwest, which involve kidnapping, climate change, then food security, because a lot of people migrate after being displaced from all over the West African region. And what they do is to go into the forest, set up their homes there. Sometimes they burn those forests, and then begin to get a kind of wood, get charcoal, which they export, And these things have a lot of impact on food security, on the indigenous knowledge, because our people are forest dependent. It's from this forest they get their herbs, they get their food and everything. So once you realize that these forests are being attacked and destroyed, we felt that was a major threat to our livelihood. And then we saw the question of the problem of courtesan, violent courtesan. You see our youths go into courtesan, violent, killing people. You remember what happened in Kurudu, the Bado boys. Then you also find a situation where younger people in the Southwest are, getting involved in drugs, harmful drugs, tramadol, and then this has been responsible for a lot of violent crimes. People can no longer go out in the night. The night economy is affected.
So you're saying that Amoteku will curtail some of this?
Oh yes. And then we discovered that the police, even though the police is doing a lot of work, yes, the people need to support police in order to make it more effective. Take for the United States, for instance, there are 17,985 police agencies. for a population of 320 million. In Nigeria, in Canada, we have 441 police agencies. And then we have the provincial police, we have the county police, and then the federal police. So police is about working with local communities in order to be able to tackle crime. In Nigeria, with a population of 180 million, we have only one police agency. So that is not good for the it's not a true reflection of a federal system. And that's why we think that local people must be involved in protecting their own lives. Security is not the property that will be given to the government, to the people by the government. It's something, a property that belongs to the people. It's about their life. So they must be involved in protecting themselves. And I think that's the whole idea behind the Amotekun.
Okay, still on this Amotekun story, the federal government are saying that they want to review create a community policing policy. But do you think that the federal government should be the one doing this? It should be left from the local government to the state government? So we have other things that the federal government are supposed to look into.
Once you mention the fact that the federal government wants to create community policing, there is no longer community policing. Community policing must be created by the communities under the states, with the supervision of the state. So, but we have a situation where federal government sit down in Abuja and ask people to recruit people into community policing. That's not community policing.
Okay, now that the federal government is saying it, do you think that community policing, the people in the region are the ones that are supposed to do the policing?
Yes.
So is it that other people now will be the ones to do it instead of the regional people? Since it's coming from the federal government.
The definition of community policing by the federal government is wrong, because they want community policing that is answerable to the IG. Okay. That is not the concept of community policing. Community policing should be policing by local authorities funded involved in the management of their affairs, in determining the framework. Communities must be involved under state, that the statistics of the federation. So the statistics must be the one that should create those community policing that we are talking about.
Sorry, moving on to other story, let's go to the Nigeria drops in global corruption index. When you saw this, because I think they dropped at 2 places down. When you saw what was your thought about fighting corruption?
Well, I wasn't surprised. We can't deny the fact that the current regime has made some progress, in terms of arresting top shots, corrupt people. People have gone to jail. High-profile corrupt people, have been arrested. Tracking of illicit funds abroad, illicit assets. But the fact of the matter is that corruption still remains a culture. From the airport, when you are coming to this country for the first time, what do you see? You see people, immigration asking you, what did you bring? Right in local and international airports. And then you go to the streets.
So it means that the culture is somehow using
corruption. It's there. So there must be a change of mindset, a change in the values of the people, a change in the way we think. As far as we are concerned now, people still dignify corruption. It's still a way of life. So until you tackle that, high profile arresting and all that will not be able. So I'm not surprised about this rating.
So don't you think that because federal government they are not agreeing with what Transparency International is saying? So don't you think that EFCC and ICPC has done enough within the last 2 years of this said index? Don't you think they've done enough? Because Nigeria has dropped down to 146 and we're 144 in 2018. Don't you think that this is like a slap to our face?
I think EFCC has done a lot of work, especially under Mangu. But I think it's one of the best chairman we've ever had, even though it's yet to be confirmed by the Senate. But then, you see, we have this wrong impression that EFCC corruption fighting is just about EFCC. How many branches has EFCC? What are the local government chairmen doing about corruption? What are the state governors doing about corruption? So there is a limit to which the EFCC can go, and that's why all the efforts about the FCC is just remains a drop in the ocean.
Sorry, one more question on that. The executive arm is to know they're supposed to be fighting. They said that they have to be fighting corruption. But do you think the legislative arm and the judiciary are also supposed to join in this fight of corruption?
Yeah, both the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary should be involved. And in fact, the people, civil society organizations, the media, it should be a collective responsibility. But we are not saying that. Everybody is waiting for FCC to talk about corruption. The Senate, for instance, look at the salary each senator takes home. The House of Rep, so they are spending almost about 37 billion to renovate the National Assembly. We are talking about corruption. So I think we need to support the FCC. I think the FCC is not getting the right support, from the necessary stakeholders. Yeah.
Okay, away from that, gunmen shoot medical practitioner Okoloyun dead in Oyo. Alhaji Fatai Yusuf Okoloyun was shot on Thursday by gunmen at Ibarapa area of Oyo State. Yusuf was said to be on his way from an outing around 4:30 a.m. when the gunmen shot at his vehicle. It was learned that some of the bullet pierced through his vehicle before hitting him. We're still talking about insecurity. And this is one of the southwest states that has been affected. This is someone who was just coming back from wherever he went to, and then he was driving to his house. Now, when you mentioned Amotekun, do you think that Amotekun would also protect the lives of people who are just on their own, just going home and then they're going to meet their families and everything? Do you think that Amotekun is going to?
This incident is very unfortunate. My condolences to the families of the slain man. Very unfortunate. This took place in Okeogun area of Oyo State. If you have had local people parading those areas day and night, it will have be a kind of deterrent, because it's their own community. They will have more empathy for that community than bringing policemen maybe from Kano or Sokoto to come and police, or from Yoruba land to Sokoto to go and police those areas. So these are part of the thing we are talking about. That if you have had local people parading those areas, the hunters and all that, probably they will have been able to prevent this kind of unfortunate incident. And let me say that quickly that because this man, we are reading it to people because he's a popular man, but there are all sorts of innocent people being killed every day. So it's a big challenge, and this confirms more the reason why we need to have Amotekun as one of the solutions to fighting insecurity.
Thank you so much for this. It's been a pleasure having you here with us this morning. I know you've talked more on this Amotekun story. But before we go on, let's quickly look at what Mr. and Mrs. is saying. I always look forward to this part. And Mrs. is actually saying, I don't see anything wrong in wearing tight jeans, trousers at my age. Life begins at 40. But Mr. is replying with a smile, at 40. Don't make me laugh. Anything you do is at this age is second hand. I just want to really laugh with this. And quickly, let's look at the backside at the sports. Babayaro slams Rogers for rushing Ndidi back from injury. And Moses becomes 8th Nigerian to join Inter to wear jersey number 11. And Leicester fans hail Iheanacho on assists. Eagles must qualify. This is coming from Lawa and Babangida, and that is all we have on the Vanguard Sport. The details can be found inside the newspaper. And that is all for the analysis for this morning. Once again, it's a pleasure having you with us. And I know you've talked more on this Amotekun and some of the stories that we've touched. And that is all for this morning. And don't forget to like and follow us on our social media platforms showing on the screen, and visit our website vanguardngr.com to get more of our top stories, and also leave your opinions in the comment section below. See you on Monday, as today is Friday. Enjoy your weekend. It's bye from me, Damlola.
And bye from me, Precious Stupid.
Hello there, my name is Victor Ogunyika, and you're welcome to the midweek edition of Today in the News, and of course, all of those newspapers across the Federation, and looking at the major headlines everywhere.
Over 1,000 people are benefiting from free medical services provided by the FCT chapter